What is going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to our live stream show. This is Red Gold Standard Podcast. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn. Matt, how are you doing today?
It's been a busy day, dude. Technical problems galore. I had to buy a new router. Needless to say, $300 later, we're in here. So let's go.
Jesus. It's been a crazy week. Sorry for the technical difficulties on your end, but at least we're here. You're good to go. Trey Lance, Matt. Trey Lance.
Yep.
How are you feeling about the pick? We did the live show, but everything was kind of chaotic. Now that some time has passed.
You kind of had to leave. So
yeah.
I feel good about it, man. Again, I was always on that, I made that funny little meme from draft day or whatever, where it was like, I covered the Vontae Mack name with not Mac Jones. And then the bottom is like, no matter what. So I can't complain. It wasn't Mac Jones. And, it's really interesting because if you watch the recap of day one, when they were talking about Trey Lance, it seems like they had their eye on him real early in the process. So, all the smoke out there, Kyle was basically saying, look, I'm not going to put any extra effort to stop people from being wrong. I don't need to go out there and correct everybody. I was just going to sit back and let them think whatever they wanted to think. So for me, again, potentially the highest upside in the draft. The fact that they're keeping Jimmy Garoppolo bodes well for him too, because he gets to sit for a little bit and kind of figure everything out. So, if it all goes according to plan, maybe he does the Patrick Mahomes thing where he doesn't play until the 49ers have already sewn up a playoff spot, and then you can just put him in there to see kind of where they go.
Yeah, it really is. Sorry, question here. Cully actually put the link in the description. If you use code DRAFT, you'll get 10% off. We have our new Trey Area shirts coming out. I'm going to have another design hopefully in the next couple of days. But I really like the way this one came out. Thanks for asking, man. We were live, and once again, gotta love Perry. Kind of spoiled the pick. He didn't spoil it completely, though, because his reaction, I don't know if any of you guys saw it, but I couldn't tell if that was like good shocked or bad shocked. I just knew he was shocked. But I love the pick. I think it's great. Both you and I, like you said, agreed. He has a really high ceiling, arguably the highest in this class. He said himself afterwards, he basically couldn't have asked for a better opportunity. And I think that's 100% correct. He, is now paired with Kyle Shanahan. He steps into a Super Bowl caliber roster when healthy. And again, we discussed this previously, not too many teams that are as well equipped as the 49ers on both sides of the ball pick in the top 5 of the draft. So he's coming into a really good situation here. And just to address his comment, wanted Fields, but Lance was second choice. I'm nervous about lack of experience, but he appears to show he can play the position. And he doesn't even turn 21 for another few days. Both you and I wanted Fields. Is there any sort of like, oh, okay, well, damn, I wanted Fields, but I'm still happy? Or are you just 100% thrilled with Trey Lance?
I'm 100% thrilled with Trey Lance. I'm going to put it out there right now. I definitely went on NFL Shop and got one of them authentics. So, much better couple $100 spent than what happened today. But no, I'm super excited about Trey Lance. I think that if they weren't going to go Justin Fields, that's definitely where I would have wanted them to go. I'm going to put it out there right now. I think Justin Fields to the Bears is a brilliant pull for Ryan Pace, a guy who hasn't done much of anything. I think that's a really good spot. I mean, they were essentially a playoff team last year too. So, getting a real quarterback there. And, I saw it on, I think it was PFF, their draft thing, where they were talking about the real winner in that is Allen Robinson, who finally gets a quarterback that can throw him the ball right. So I expect Justin Fields is going to play in like week 4. There's no way that Andy Dalton's going to hold him off for very long. As for Trey Lance, I think it'll be a little bit longer unless history repeats itself and Jimmy is hurt by October, which very well could be. Kyle's under the impression, hey, there's no rush right now. He said it at his press conference. If it's a competition, then he's happy about that. But, there's time for Trey Lance to develop and really get there. In terms of experience, he had the same number of starts as Mac Jones. So it wasn't against the top end competition, of course, but it was a lot of games under his belt. Kyle went back and watched a ton of the 2019 film, said he loved it. So I really can't be upset about that. You really look at them doing their due diligence. And if you think that they did, then you're really happy about this pick. And, of course, 49ers Twitter there's no pleasing everybody. I think for the most part, everybody's happy, but I know a lot of people were on the Justin Fields train. Some people were on the Mac Jones train. And it's easy to say, oh man, Mac Jones is going to be so good now because he goes to New England. But, you know, you never know. Like, it was about what you're trading up for. And I think we can dispel the entire, let's talk about this. First of all, I want to kill the rumor. I think Peter Schrager said this out of pocket and David Lombardi's running with it. They are not going to use Trey Lance like Taysom Hill. Just let's put that out of the mind right now. He's the number 3 overall pick. They're not going to put him in harm's way just to run a couple of gadget plays. They're going to do whatever they can to get him ready to be the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, whether it's this year or beyond. They're not going to worry about all that, you know, trickery and all that stuff. Listen, if you're doing that kind of stuff, you're not running your offense right. You don't need that kind of thing. But that being said, I do think that, you know, Lance is going to come in. He's going to be able to sit. He's going to be able to learn and grow and do all that stuff. So, you know, you look at it and you got to be happy with what they did.
Yeah, I really love it. And I'm trying to think about this draft class and as a whole, grade wise, I love Trey Sermon. I did not think the 49ers were going to draft a single running back, let alone 2. Is that something that took you by surprise as well?
A little bit, until I dug a little bit into Elijah Mitchell. Listen, so 6th round pick, not really a big deal. You know, that's something that they could take a swing at. Dude ran 4.35 at his pro day. So I think that they're looking at him and projecting him to be almost like a returner, a special teams guy, if I were to guess. And in that case, I don't really hate the pick. Trey Sermon, I mean, I like that pick. He was pretty productive when he was at Oklahoma, and then his usage fell off for some weird reason, and then he transferred to Ohio State, and he only played in 6 games, but he, you know, racked up almost 700 yards. Granted, half of that was in like 1 game, but you know, he looked really good in the college football playoff against Clemson. He kind of torched him up. He had 200 yards rushing essentially. Sermon, you know, got hurt in the national championship game, broke his collarbone, but that shouldn't really affect him. So I'd really like to see, you know, how he comes out and, you know, how he does, because in my estimation, this is something you got to realize. For as much as we love Raheem Mostert, right? Yeah. Before last season, he held the team up for money and then he got hurt. And you can't tell me that somebody like Kyle Shanahan doesn't look at that and get kind of pissed off about it, that John Lynch doesn't look at that, gets a little pissed off about it. So with all of the running back injuries that have happened over the last couple of years, I think you're bringing in bodies. And Trey Sermon's a big dude. He's a shade under 6'1". He's about 215, 220 pounds. He's a big boy. So he's going to be what they wanted Tevin Coleman to be, which is that early down, run it between the tackles type guy. Because he's not a speedster. I think he ran like a 4.6 or something like that. But running between the tackles, it's very rare that somebody brings him down at first contact. So, you know, he's going to be like that first, second down guy, the short yardage back, if you will. And I think he can make a real impact. He could be one of the highest producers out of the rookie running backs this year, in my opinion. After Najee Harris, I think he could be like right up there, just based off of what I know the 49ers like to do. So,
yeah, I totally agree with that. I think they brought him in kind of for that like change of pace back. Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, these are all like speed guys, and even Elijah Mitchell, like you said. I was listening to John Lynch's. He did like an interview, I believe, with Kiana after the draft. It wasn't really like a press conference, obviously, but he was saying like, you know, like we fell in love with Elijah's speed, and that's definitely what fits into the mold as what's been here. But Trey Sermon definitely doesn't fit that mold. He's more of a bruiser back, but I absolutely love that pick. I did not expect that at all. I thought they were definitely going to take a secondary, a guy of a secondary defensive back, safety, etc. They also, I saw a stat, if it might be, the number might be incorrect, but I think it was about 15 straight drafts that they took a wide receiver that ended this year. Did that surprise you at all? No wide receivers.
It did at the time, but looking at the fact that they were able to pick up Austin Watkins as a priority free agent after the draft is pretty nice. I think a lot of people were projecting him to be like a later round pick, but to get picked. And like a lot of name players in college didn't get picked. Patty Fisher didn't get picked. There's a couple others I can't really remember off the top of my head, but Austin Watkins, don't sleep on him making this team. I think that there's definitely the potential for him to do that. He's he's he'd be one of the bigger receivers we have. He's like 6'1", 210. Which, I mean, Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk are both around, 6'1", so fits kind of in the mold. Not a burner. He ran a 4.55, but he played really well at UAB. So to be able to bring him in, it kind of makes me, kind of okay what they were doing. And it seemed to me that like guys that they would probably target just went like a few picks ahead of where they were going. So I don't know what their draft board looked like, but I feel like maybe they think, and see, I disagree with Bob Money. The fact that they didn't take an early guy, maybe they feel good about where Jalen Hurd's at from his ACL recovery and that he'll be ready. So going forward, yeah, I mean, maybe they give Mohamed Sanu another shot. So you never know. And we're still early. Cut down days are going to happen, and you never know who's going to be put out there. There could be a veteran guy that they want to go get. It's just going to depend. But I do think that Austin Watkins has a solid chance of making this team.
Yeah, he's a great addition. Collie, did you see the interview today with Trey? Young man seems to have a good head on his shoulders. I did catch it with Keanu Martin. Mm-hmm. He seems, man, I'm so happy to get this guy in here and get to work.
Yeah. Everything that I've seen from him indicates that he is just a high character dude.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to see. And he comes across as somebody who's mature beyond his years, which I really like. So, again, it remains to be seen. They said that they felt he was the smartest guy in the draft. So if that's true, then, all power to the 49ers. Kyle even touched on the one area of weakness that we really look at with the accuracy. And he's like, look, like if the eyes are right and the feet are right, the accuracy will follow. Yeah. And it's up to him to take our coaching and go about it. And, just the fact that, someone recommended that he go work with John Beck and that he did it and then picked up a lot of things and that he's, talking about getting to work right away. That's it bodes well. It bodes well for him. So I expect him to pick up a lot of stuff from the end of the season. He worked with, I forget the quarterback guru guy that works with everybody, like Hardy, Tom, something or other. The guy that works with everybody, right? Mm-hmm. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And they shortened up his delivery. They had him bring the ball up. They had him shorten his delivery. And if he can continue to make progress like that, that's all you're really looking for. It looks like he has a great work ethic. And if he's as smart as they say, then, absolutely, he's going to be just a high quality dude.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. The 49ers, just going through the draft picks here, their second pick in this year's draft was Aaron Banks, guard from Notre Dame. Mike McGlinchey's old teammate. McGlinchey seemed pretty stoked to have him back. He's big, man, 6'5", 235 or 325, excuse me, from his stats here.
Yep.
How much is that going to be able to help the 49ers? And how much do you take into consideration that their strategy is here, quarterback, and then Aaron Banks, and then later on in the draft, they went ahead and drafted Jalen Moore as well, a tackle from Western Michigan.
Yeah, Jalen Moore, Daniel Jeremiah was talking about that he projects to kind of actually move inside. So if he can be like that swing tackle guy, right, that depth piece that can work guard or kick out outside, that'd be cool. As for Aaron Banks, if you ask everything that you hear around the league, right, is that Notre Dame is like O-line U. Like they just churn out offensive linemen. Yeah. I think they had 3 or 4 of their offensive linemen drafted this year. So, when you look at it like that, I watched, I didn't know that much about Aaron Banks. He wasn't on my radar ahead of the draft, but then I went after they drafted him and kind of watched, and that dude is a beast. He's like an old school mauler. And, if he can get out and fire off and get in space, he's going to knock someone on their ass. And, that's the type of toughness that you need. And if he plays on the right side, that's the type of toughness that can kind of take some of the pressure off of Mike McGlinchey, because, when you have that beast inside who's just knocking everybody back, you can concentrate on your guy. And it's hard not to get fired up when you got somebody who's just pancaking people, right next to you. It's that Quentin Nelson syndrome, right? Yeah. Where we always talk about, hey, Quentin Nelson needs to get Christmas presents from McGlinchey every year for making him so much money. And, there's a potential that this year, if Aaron Banks starts and plays well, that McGlinchey's going to get a contract extension because he's going to have a load taken off his plate. So we'll see going forward. But I did after, I was confused at first, but after looking into it, I like the pick.
Yeah, I'm really stoked. It reminded me, obviously not in the same high, premium picks that they spent when they drafted Anthony Davis, Mike Iupati, but they've neglected this offensive line a bit in the past couple of drafts. So I'm happy. I mean, obviously, except for the first round picks, but they haven't necessarily. I mean, say what you will about Mike McGlinchey. I don't know. I'll leave it at that because it's kind of a heated topic on 49ers Twitter. Then after Banks, then that's when they took Trey Sermon. We've already spoke about him.
Yep.
And then with their fourth pick was Ambry Thomas, the corner out of Michigan. From what I've read about him. Yeah, I do as well. It seemed like a lot of people thought he was going to go a lot earlier, but because he opted out this past year, he fell to where he fell to, which was the 102 overall. Do you think he has a solid shot of making this roster, possibly starting soon?
He's going to make the roster, and he's going to fight for a spot in the rotation. I don't know that he's going to start just because I think at this stage, Mosley and Verrett are proven. And we still don't know if anybody else is going to come back. Richard Sherman's still floating around out there. There's no guarantee he's not back. There's no guarantee that they don't go out and get somebody else to come in and play. But I think that Thomas has a good shot at starting. I watch a lot of Michigan football. He's a good player. So, he's definitely going to be a guy that, he's going to compete. He's a competitor, if anything else. And, he's got some technique stuff, especially in close and in press that could use some work. He gets a little handsy at times, which he's going to need to clean up in the NFL. But, he's got pretty good feet, pretty good hip turn, pretty good in man. Good at reading quarterback's eyes. He just, he's got to clean up some stuff, and that's going to come with experience. And this defensive backs coach and the defensive staff are going to kind of clean that up, and hopefully he can compete. The one thing that I can say is that he is 100% a competitor in the way that, maybe an Akella Witherspoon wasn't, right? I've seen Thomas, struggle one play and then come right back and buckle down the next play and make a play. So that's definitely, I feel like, if they can get him up to speed, he definitely has a shot at playing right away at the beginning of the season.
Which would be huge. He's 6 feet, 191. He's got some size that the 49ers I know they like in their corners. And from what I've read, too, he's got pretty extensive special teams contributing experience. Yeah. So that definitely helps these rookies get on the field a lot sooner and a lot, more frequently. And that helps just getting their feet wet in the NFL. Anything counts.
And they need somebody to return because, before I looked into a lot of these guys, right, I'm sitting here in the back and I'm going, are they really going to trot Richie James out there to return? And I'm just like, they can't, dude. He's so bad. He is like one of the worst kick returners I've ever seen in my life. He just finds a way to run it. Like he'll have wide open lane and he'll just miss the lane and just run into people. And I just don't understand. So whoever they can get back there, I mean, a bag of potatoes back there would probably have more return yardage than Richie James. So, I'm looking forward to seeing who they get back there.
Richie James took that one kickoff back against Seattle, and that's like all of his kickoff return ability was wasted. Or no, I should say wasted, was used in that single return because literally nothing else happened after that besides like 5 to 8 yard returns, one cut, tackle. So, going through their next pick was Diamador Lenore, who John Lynch is calling Demo for short. He doesn't seem to have that first name down, which it is a very tricky first name, if I'm being honest. Corner from Oregon. They drafted another corner. So how do you feel about this pick? Is this kind of more of like a fringe roster kind of guy?
I still need to look into him. I honestly, I don't know much about him. But the profile kind of fits what they like. So we'll see what happens. I want to look at the tape. I haven't been able to see too much of it. I was kind of concentrating on some of the guys that I knew before I got to the rest that I didn't know. I was looking at tape on free agent linebacker pickup Justin Hilliard from Ohio State. I was looking at some of his stuff. Again, Austin Watkins, Josh Peterson from Louisiana Monroe, who's another undrafted guy. I think I got caught up after the draft in like the undrafted guys because those are the ones that really come in and you're like, all right, who are these people? But I agree with AH right here. He's definitely on the name team, that's for sure. Like he's got a cool name. And is it Lenore or is it Lenoir? Because like you never know. Like these French,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like you don't know. I don't know. I'd love to hear. I need
Keanu
to
is
go back and
pronouncing
watch
it Lenore.
Well, maybe it is. I don't know. But Steve in the chat saying he's going to take over in the slot. If that's true, then he's gonna have a spot on this team because they definitely need somebody as an heir apparent to K1 Williams.
Mhm.
So
yeah, and I did see that he has that connection to Sherman, so that's pretty cool. The connections are there. Just I didn't know much about Lenore. I'm going to call it Lenore if I'm mispronouncing it, my mistake. But for now, that's what I'm going to call it. On his his breakdown from Lance Zierlein, and basically high physical kind of guy, tight hips, transition from man or mirror match techniques well. Lacks the chase speed though, so it doesn't seem like he's kind of a speed kind of guy. But I do think that the 49ers, it's at that point, it's a crapshoot, and I do think they're kind of just going off of what they think might work out. But their next pick, I actually am pretty excited about, and I'm super excited to see hit the field is Talanoa Hufanga from USC, the safety. Have you been able to have a chance to look into any of his stats or his play at all?
No, again, another guy that I didn't really,
Once you get the back end of the draft, it's kind of hard to know most of these guys.
Right? Yeah. I'm sure you looked into him. What do you think?
I think he's got some sort of explosiveness to his game that is missing from the 49ers secondary. He's a playmaker. He won the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year, I believe, in 2020. He's a ball hawk, and I do think that he's able to. He's got just kind of a feel for the game. Those secondary players that just go out there and they just know what to do. Making tackles in the backfield. He seems like to be a pretty sure tackler, and I think that's what the 49ers definitely need.
Yeah, all I know is that Samoan and Polynesian football players always play a physical brand of football. They're gonna put the hurt on you. So if he can come in and be a physical safety, that's exactly what the team needs. That's in the mold of Jaquiski Tartt and Jimmy Ward, who play very physically. So if he can come in and lay the wood to somebody, like that's all you can ask for. If you get ball hawk skills on top of that, all the better. I do want to look into his tape because I do want to see how he is in coverage. With a lot of these guys, it's like, why did he slip? And you need to kind of take a look at where they go. So
yeah.
And if there's something that made him fall, I don't know his injury history. I like to look at all that stuff. But again, another guy on the name team because that's a dope name.
Yeah, he broke his collarbone. I believe in 2019.
Yeah, broken bones don't really bother me because they heal. Like, soft tissue injuries are more worrisome to me. So a broken collarbone, again, Trey Sermon broke his collarbone, but he's going to come back. He's going to be fine.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And he was actually, you spoke about, the Polynesian. He was coached by Troy Polamalu, so that's pretty cool. And hopefully he's able to pick up some aspects of his game because even 20% of a Troy Polamalu is a pretty special player in NFL. Going through the rest of the picks, there's only one left. Excuse me, that's Elijah Mitchell. We discussed him already. Speedy back. Going through the undrafted free agents, the 49ers have signed, or at least are rumored to have signed. This is per Niners Nation. One notable name is Doug Peterson's son, the former Eagles head coach, Josh Peterson, who's a tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know much about him?
He's a decent player. He's one of those depth signings. Right. He's one of those guys that's got an outside shot to make the team. When you stack him up against George Kittle, obviously Kittle's making the roster, but then you go down the list and it's like Ross Dwelly. Is he going to make the roster? Probably. You have the kid from Stanford, Charlie Werner. Is he going to make the roster? Probably. Now you're getting to the point where are they going to carry 4 tight ends? You would think so. So there's definitely, he's got an outside shot. He needs to come into camp and make noise right away. Otherwise, he's gonna be one of the first people cut. Yep.
I agree with that a lot. He had 43 catches for 567 yards and 9 touchdowns in 2019. Seems to be a pretty solid athlete. why not when you're getting these undrafted free agents? I did see though that the 49ers will need to waive 4 players because they're at their cap limit. So we'll have to wait and see who gets waived. You talked about Ohio State, the linebacker, Justin Hilliard, and then Austin Watkins we've also discussed, and then Kansas linebacker Elijah Sullivan to round out the undrafted free agents the 49ers have signed. Overall, I'm pretty stoked with this haul. I think the 49ers got immensely better over the past weekend. And I just think that, they did a hell of a job. But I wanted to talk to you about, I believe, is it Jim or Jeremiah Trotter? Jim Trotter?
Jeremiah Trotter.
Jeremiah Trotter. He had a piece right after the draft, I believe it was Saturday, that spoke about how the 49ers, how they went about this draft, and basically Kyle and John did not even discuss with each other who they each thought the pick should be. And then Monday, the week of the draft, Kyle and John got together and one of them said to the other, "Are you ready to draft Trey Lance?" And the other one basically smiled and said, "I'm so glad you said Trey. That's who I had in my mind all along." One, how does that method even work when you're supposed to be a team going over all these analyzing, I can't say this correctly, analyzing the players. Do you think that's sort of a negative? Because when you're going over these players, I almost welcome other people's opinion to make sure I'm not missing anything.
No.
You don't think you have a negative at all?
No, because they watched the film together. They went to the pro days together, right? They saw everything together. They just didn't say what their exact thoughts were. And you come together at a certain point, and then that's when you kind of go over it. But, you say, did I miss anything? Well, the other part of that is I know what kind of quarterback that I like, but if Kyle likes another guy, we're such a team. Do I automatically defer to him? And does that taint my evaluation? And I had said this, that when Kyle wasn't at any of the first pro days and he had sent like Ethan Waugh out and he had sent John out and he had sent Rich Scangarello out, he's trying to get their unfiltered and unbiased opinion in terms of, right, oh, well, we're going to say this because coach wants to hear this, right? And then that way, when they do come together and when Kyle did tell John, "Hey, you ready to draft Trey?" And John's like, "Are you kidding me?" Like that, of course, that's who I wanted. Now you're in lockstep, and individually you can evaluate and still come together towards the end and be like, "Look, this is what I got. This is what you got." They said that it happened on Monday before the draft, so they still had 3 days to really, if they were in disagreement, where they were going to figure that out. So right, for me, it's not really that big a deal at all. I actually think that that's a smart way to do it, because I feel somebody with the personality and the domineering nature and the reputation for being a genius like Shanahan is, that sucks up a whole lot of oxygen in the room, and people are going to want to defer to him no matter what, because, well, he's the offensive guy. He's the genius. He should know, rather than form their own opinion. And then the coach can solicit your opinion and be like, you know what, that matches up with what I got. I think we're going in the right direction.
Yeah, that's a great response. I agree with you. I saw a little bit of the former on Twitter basically saying, "Oh, this is way too self-centered, and what if somebody else had a different opinion? You're not even willing to learn." I don't think that's the case at all. I do think that it was really a matter of, I don't want to taint your thought process with my thought process. Let's go through the whole motion, and then at the end of it, if we happen to be at the same, perfect. If not, we can discuss why we each feel this way. And two, does this not just vindicate us in saying these reporters didn't know jack shit, excuse my language, but jack shit the entire time? I mean, they were saying that Monday, Mac Jones, it's basically locked in.
Yeah.
What? I mean, where are they getting this from?
Right out of their ass. Like, we knew that, though. Yeah. We totally knew that. So I just think that, when you look at it, it's one of those things where, people think that people think they know Kyle, right? Oh, Kirk Cousins, he's the Kyle Shanahan guy. Oh, Matt Ryan, he's the Kyle Shanahan guy. And I kept saying, we don't know. He didn't draft any of these guys. The only guy he drafted, he was responsible for, was CJ Beathard. And that was on short notice. And that was when they couldn't do their due diligence, because he didn't get hired until, right before, like literally put his staff together the week of the Senior Bowl. Yeah. So you get no time to do anything, right? And so of course you're not going to take a shot. And in hindsight, you could look back and be like, man, Mahomes was a miss, but Mahomes was used as a project. Watson didn't have a clean eval coming out of college, even though he had the big time games. And he didn't want to hitch his wagon to that. He wanted to build the roster. And then when it was ready, okay, now we have the guy on the rookie contract that we can go out and kind of go around. So this sets it up that if Trey Lance is ready to go right out of the gate, you can get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo, and now you start working on the extension for Fred Warner. You start working on potentially a Nick Bosa extension and things like that. So things are falling into place, and they're going to have maneuverability going forward because of the contract that Trey Lance has. So they did their due diligence. They did the best they could. And I think Kyle kind of proved that, hey, you guys don't know anything about what kind of quarterback I like, because he was speaking effusively about the, athleticism and the running ability that Trey Lance can bring. And that's why they're going to use him as Taysom Hill is so crazy, because in that same press conference, he's like, look, he can run the ball. Do you want him running the ball all the time? No, you want him making plays and throwing the football. But if things break down to a certain point and he can get out, then obviously you like to have that extra gear and be able to do that. So, but playing quarterback is first. Playing the position is first. So to say that they're going to, again, they're doing the same thing. Oh, well, they're going to do the Taysom Hill thing. Where are you getting this? You pulling at the same place you pulled the Mac Jones bull crap out of? Like, what are we talking about here? So, yeah, this team hasn't leaked anything. They continue to not leak anything. So you have to take everything that the 49ers beat writers and the national media say with a huge grain of salt. And you have to read the tea leaves and kind of look and see where things are going before forming an opinion. You can't just take what they say at face value.
Yeah. Great answer. I do think that, by the way, for the guys that are sending in questions, we're going to get to them at the end of the show, just so we kind of don't derail our points here. But we do see you, and thank you for the questions. Send in as many as you guys can. We love answering them at the end. And yeah, I agree with you, Matt. I do think it was complete BS. I mean, nobody knew anything even inside the building. I'm forgetting the ESPN reporter who was basically saying they have a decision. Gosh, I can't remember his name, but he was saying they have a decision, but Jeremy Fowler, he was saying it. They've made a decision, but nobody knows. That was the most accurate report I saw over the last month regarding the 49ers draft pick. And, it was him admitting nobody knows. And I thought it was hilarious, too, that the day, I remember, I think it was like 2:00 on Thursday, Ian Rappaport came out saying, yeah, nobody knows. It's like, dude, you were going on podcasts in the last couple of days saying, oh, yeah, no, it's Mac Jones. And in Jim Charter's piece, he did say they made the trade to further analyze Justin Fields and Trey Lance. It doesn't seem like Mac Jones was ever a possibility. If he was their number 3 on some weird scenario that Trey Lance and Justin Fields became undraftable for whatever reason.
Right.
So I just think that needs to be said, because a lot of these reporters were talking out of their ass.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a frustrating thing. Really, everybody wants to be first, right? And the people like Ian Rappaport and the Adam Schefters, they're going to cloak it all in the I think, or sources have said, or it's, rumors speculate, or whatever, so that they're saying, well, I didn't say for sure, right? So that they can continue to play this song and dance that they always do. But the fact of the matter is that this team doesn't leak. And it looks like from day one, from what Kyle has said after the fact, is that the guy was Trey Lance since back in January, since the end of the season, is what he was saying. And that, that they didn't think he was going to get to 12 as they went through the process. And so they made the trade up. And when they made the trade up, they didn't have to hide trying to get to know him and trying to figure it out. So thank you. But I do want to get to Tavarius, who's asking why they picked Lance over Fields. I think it's the upside. I think it's the upside. I think the meetings that they had, I firmly suspect that maybe Trey Lance was a little bit better with their concepts and stuff like that. Not just, again, it's, you got to be careful. I'm not saying that Justin Fields isn't good on the whiteboard, but I think especially that, Trey Lance was offering something that Kyle Shanahan really liked. And I think that Kyle likes the fact that Trey Lance doesn't have a ton of experience. That way he can mold him in the way that, he needs to. And again, look, if Kyle's big thing was he was looking at positive and negative plays on tape, right? And if we're being honest, in 2020, towards the end of the season against ranked opponents, Justin Fields had a couple of clunkers. He had a couple of bad games where he wasn't making the right read, where he was holding the ball too long, where he had some unfortunate turnovers. So I think that plays a part. When you're looking at a checklist of X amount of positive plays versus X amount of negative plays, and you're comparing the two, and a lot of other things are equal, then you're going to go with whose tape you feel comfortable with, who you feel more comfortable with in the meeting. And if we go back to the presser where Kyle was talking about evaluating these quarterbacks, he said, look, tape is the first thing, and hindsight, he gave a real big clue with his next statement, which was, if the tape isn't there, you get to know the guy and you can learn that way. And I think that's a lot of what happened. I think that Kyle ended up really liking Trey Lance, the person, on top of the football player. He's talking about him having the ability to be a CEO of a company in the presser. And it's just, when you hear these things, it's very apparent that Trey Lance just kind of knocked his socks off. So that's kind of why, you would take him in that regard, in my opinion, anyway.
He did seem like he was just blown away by him as a person. And Trey, just watching his videos, his interviews, he does seem to have that infectious personality. You want to like him, you want to root for him, and just all he's done at 20 years old, basically almost 21. Like it's really impressive. And the fact that he was operating basically a pro style offense, North Dakota State. There are just so many things stacked up on top of each other. Yeah. That just it makes sense. And I prefer Justin Fields, but like I said, it was 1A, 1B. Trey Lance was not that much of a difference for me. Everybody has their preferences. Mine was Justin Fields, but I am still just as thrilled with Trey Lance. I just would have been crushed if it was Mac Jones, like everybody on here.
Yeah.
And to speak to your earlier comments too, Matt.
Kyle kind of said that, though. Kyle kind of insinuated at that too, right? Where he was just like, we weren't taking Mac Jones at 3, bro.
Yeah, and just like you said earlier, in their press conference immediately after, he was saying, if the NFL and the media are thinking that we're doing something we're not going to do, I'm not going to work hard at all to correct that. Yeah. Rarely in the NFL do you have, the get or any sort of, drop on the media or on other teams. So when you have it, I'm going to use it to my full advantage. There's no point in me coming out and saying, no, we're not drafting Mac Jones. They don't benefit from that at all.
Yeah, they don't. And, I think our own Scott Gielan has like a Twitter thread on this. I know that he was breaking it down in our group chat, but there are just some intangible things about the way that Trey Lance manipulates a defense that once he gets a little more experience and puts it all together, you see the tantalizing potential. So I know that, like James said, he's going to make negative plays. Like, hopefully they'll be patient with him. And again, I got to bring up baseball at least once, right? Fernando Tatis Jr. has a ton of throwing errors this year, but who cares? Because he'll rip a home run off of Trevor Bauer and then give him the cover the one eye thing, right? Yeah. Like, you take the bad with the good with young, exciting players because they offer you something that you can see that potential, right? The early bumps are nothing because you're hoping that year 2, year 3, year 4, you hit that stride, that Patrick Mahomes like stride, where all of a sudden it's just everything clicks, and then you got, the sky's the limit, and you're just like, holy crap, we have an MVP candidate at quarterback. The same thing, it happened in Buffalo with Josh Allen, where you're like, man, I don't know if that accuracy is going to get good, and then he pops last year, and you're like, holy crap, Josh Allen is an MVP candidate, and he sliced and diced, and then you look at Trey Lance, 6'4", 225 with speed. I mean, again, that tantalizing combination, the fan base is like, okay, Trey Lance has all this upside, and that's why it's more palatable for them to give up 3 first-round picks and draft him at 3 than it would have been with Mac Jones. So the upside will carry him quite a bit in those early days when he's making some mistakes. But, as long as there's continual growth, then that's all you need. So,
yeah. Are you ready to get into some questions?
Sure.
Okay. 49 Media, we'll get back to that one. I'm just going to go back to the start.
Well, I can answer that one right now.
Sure.
Daniel Brunskill is going to be the backup center. He's going to be the guy to replace him because he played pretty decently at center last year. So they're going to kick the two people they drafted. Banks definitely is going to stay inside, and then Moore might kick inside or just be like that swing tackle type of guy. So I think that's why they didn't draft a backup for Mac. They kind of have one on the roster already.
Yep.
At least at replacement level, by the way.
Fair enough. Dan on Gotti, should they have waited for Michael Carter? Do you think Trey Sermon was a better pick? I heard a lot of noise about Carter.
I think Trey Sermon's the better pick for the 49ers because of the way that he runs the ball. He's going to be that one cut through the inside zone type of runner. You know, they're going to be able to run their zone concepts with him. That's what he schemed out to be. That's what I saw on the tape. Ohio State did a lot of zone blocking schemes, so he fits. Michael Carter was the backup at North Carolina. Well, I mean, like the 1B, like when you think of Michael Carter and Javonte Williams, it's like 1A, 1B, kind of like Freeman and Coleman were for the Falcons back in the day. But, you know, obviously Williams was the more dynamic runner, and that's why he got selected earlier. But no, I think Sermon's a good fit for the offense.
I like Sermon. Sermon. I think that he's going to fit in really well. Let's see. Ryan Johnson. Who do you think will win the third quarterback spot, Rosen or Sudfeld? Is there a guarantee that either of them stay on the squad to start the season? Love the pod. Thanks, Ryan.
There will be a third quarterback. That's just how Shanahan rolls. He's always rolled with three quarterbacks. That's just what he likes to do. I would like to see Rosen stay. Sudfeld to me is a capped out guy. Like I don't see what you get out of him. And again, if Kyle is really a fan of these guys who are smart on the whiteboard, I feel like Josh Rosen is that guy. So as a third quarterback, you're hoping he never plays, but you know, don't underestimate that first round cachet and how many opportunities it'll get you. So I don't think Nate Sudfeld's going to stick around.
Yeah, maybe practice squad. Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he's a vet. Is he capped out like years? Because I think after certain years, you're not eligible for a practice squad. I'm not sure how long he's been in the NFL.
I don't know. He might not be P squad eligible.
Yeah. But regardless, I agree with you, Rosen. The 49ers might actually have three, depending on what you determine starting quality caliber quarterbacks. They might have three. Rosen, Matt and I have both discussed it. He has not had a fair chance, like literally anywhere he's gone. He was taken in the first round a few years ago with Cardinals. A year later, he got replaced by Kyler Murray, shipped out to Miami. You know, it's just a crappy situation for him all around. But I would like to see him third quarterback.
Yeah. James Briggs, listen, he's not making Julio Jones guaranteed money. It's $250,000. They don't give a shit about that. They'll cut him if they need to.
Yeah, that's nothing.
Nothing.
Let's see. John Day, we discussed this to start. So do you want to give like a grade of how you thought the whole process, draft and free agency?
Somebody said it in the chat earlier, and I agree. If Trey Lance is a franchise quarterback, it's an A+, and nothing else matters.
John Day said as well, yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
I agree
with that. No one's going to care that we give up 3 first-round picks if Trey Lance takes the 49ers to a Super Bowl and wins it. No one's going to care.
Yeah. I agree. Because so much a good quarterback shadows so many deficiencies. You know, you don't notice crappy receivers or a bad defense if your quarterback is eligible or capable, I should say, of putting up 30 plus points a game, no problem. It overcomes so much. It hides so many deficiencies as a team. I do think that's a true statement, John Day. Ryan Johnson again. We are log jammed at the running back position. Who do you think gets the axe or put on the practice squad?
They're gonna try to stash JaMychal Hasty on the practice squad, but I don't think he's gonna get picked up by somebody. I'm not putting it past them that they don't change Elijah Mitchell's designation. So make him a wide receiver and then just have him return or be on special teams, like a special teams guy. But as far in terms of like the main roster of running backs, they're going to carry 5. Stuart in our chat pointed out that they've been carrying 5. So it's going to be Mostert, Sermon, Gallman, and Jeff Wilson Jr. And then along with Kyle Juszczyk, and then you can try to stash Hasty on the practice squad. If you don't change Mitchell to a wide receiver, maybe he is on the practice squad. But beyond that, I don't see much else sticking around.
Yeah. That is a good point. They have carried 5, and a lot of people, and I don't remember if we discussed this earlier with the whole why did they draft
Good thing too, because they get hurt a lot.
That's what I was just gonna say. How many games did Mostert miss over the past 2 years? I love Jeff Wilson. If Mostert were to go down, I would be a little hesitant or a little nervous with Jeff Wilson getting the bulk share of carries for the first time in his entire career. He's a great kind of change of pace back, 2 back, 3 back, but was a 1 back getting 20 plus touches a game. I'm not confident in his ability to do that.
Right.
I'm happy.
That's why you bring in a guy like Gallman, who, other than a single game where he had a concussion, hasn't missed a game in his career in terms of being injured. He's had some like coaches' decisions and things like that, but he's a guy who stayed healthy. You get Mostert out there who, again, use him sparingly. Jeff Wilson, I don't think, unless people get hurt, I don't think Jeff Wilson's going to see a lot of action this year, because I just think that, Trey Sermon comes in and he can be the guy that just pounds the rock on first and second. He, again, play that Tevin Coleman role. And it's really weird. This team, whoever starts the game, it doesn't really matter. They're going to rotate them. I think that that's where they're going to go moving forward. There's no bell cow back on this team, and there shouldn't be, because that's just, you want to be able to keep people fresh so you can keep pounding the ball, keep running the ball, and hopefully wear down opposing defenses. And if you can do that, you just make everything so much easier for, a Jimmy Garoppolo or a Trey Lance to make the plays that play action comes into play, all kinds of stuff like that. So carrying that many running backs, especially with the running back room as it is now, I mean, I can't remember when the 49ers had this much talent at the running back position.
Yeah. And it's just Kyle Shanahan in general. When did they, I don't remember when Alfred Morris was drafted, but
he was the same year RG3. So 20.
Round though. Like, what do you remember if he was higher up, third, fourth round?
Fourth.
Maybe?
He was like a 4th or a 5th.
Yeah. That's like the highest.
7th?
Sounds, I don't know. You going to Google it?
Yeah, I'm Googling
okay.
it right now. 6th round.
6th round. I don't remember the last time. Joe Williams, I think they took in like the 3rd or something. He didn't play a single snap. So it's like Kyle Shanahan has never really had a running back that he's drafted in the first half of the draft to add to his offense. So the fact that he finally has one, I'm stoked. He does a lot with, no offense to these guys, but kind of clearance level talent, undrafted level talent. He does a lot sorting of the, undrafted players to be able to find a guy who hits, like a Breida or Michael Hasty last season was playing well before his injury. Jeff Wilson included, but now that he's got Trey Sermon, I'm stoked to see what he's able to do with that.
Yeah, me too. I mean, people are going to hammer him over the Joe Williams thing, but Joe Williams' physical talent wasn't the issue. It was his mental aspect. And I think that the team, especially in that first draft, Reuben Foster and, the second draft with Akella Witherspoon and actually was Akella was the first one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Akella was the first draft. And then the second one with Dante Pettis, they got quickly through that. Oh God. Okay. We're not going to take chance on people with weak mentality or with confidence issues or with character issues. They moved away from that. So the Joe Williams things, they're going to hammer him on because he went to bat for him, and rightfully so. That was a bad pick, but the physical talent was there, and you can kind of see what was there. So I think, but I think that Trey Sermon is exciting because, again, Mostert's holding the team up for money and gets hurt. Jeff Wilson Jr. got hurt last year. Tevin Coleman was hurt last year. Cargo Plane McKinnon was slow and ineffective. So now you got guys coming in that can be effective, and you could take some of the early down situations away from Raheem Mostert, where you don't need him to be that first down and 10 guy, right, or the second down and 2 guy with pretty the obvious running situations, right? Put Trey Sermon in there, the young guy, the big kid. He's bigger than Raheem Mostert. So yeah, it is exciting to see that dynamic part of the offense going forward, though.
Yeah, 100%. I actually forgot about Wayne Gallman, so I'm glad you brought him up.
Yeah,
because that's the addition as well, too. It's just a really, really talented backfield. And you add Trey Lance to that. Kyle Shanahan said it himself. Most defenses for so long have been playing 11 on 10. You make it 11 on 11, it's tough, man. Did you happen to catch? I think it was after one of their post-draft interviews, where it was either Kyle or John, I forget which one, said that they actually took injuries into their, consideration this year for the first time because of how kind of snake bit they've been by injuries. Did you catch that?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's smart, I mean, you
Yeah.
can never predict injuries. Like you try to avoid them the best you can, but you can look for patterns. Like, okay, this guy seems to get nicked up every year. Is that a guy that we didn't necessarily want? Right. Maybe with a Trey Sermon. Okay, he had like 2 injuries in college. One was a broken collarbone, no big deal, right? You can figure that stuff out. But yeah, it's good to see that they're taking that into account because I don't know if it's the water in Santa Clara. I can't possibly be the strength and conditioning team again because they completely cleaned house there. So I don't know.
They did not waste any time clearing out that strength.
Yeah, it was gone. And the thing was that when you get so many injuries, it gets disheartening, right? And you're just like, are we just bad luck or whatever? And everybody talks about Trent Baalke team ACL, which by the way he did again in Jacksonville this year, which was crazy. Drafted a bunch of guys with ACLs.
I think you have to.
So crazy. At least he's on brand. But you want to turn your fortunes around. Losing again Bosa and then to a lesser degree Solomon Thomas, both to ACLs, both on back-to-back plays. The entire fan base is sick of the words high ankle sprain at this point. We're just getting to the point where it's like, come on, we got to take some tough dudes who are going to be durable in the NFL. Yeah. And so it's nice to see them finally taking that into account.
I was actually a little shocked that they weren't taking that into account. I mean, I guess it's like talent, tape, injuries pretty low on that, but I still think it should have been. But yeah, I'm glad they finally were.
Confidence in their staff and what they're doing, but at the end of the day, it's just like, okay, we really gotta look into that.
Yeah. Before we go through some more questions, I'm going to show our latest merch edition. Our Trey Area shirts available now. Use code DRAFT, DRAFT, for 10% off your order. Link is in the description for our Teespring store. Check it out, guys. Like I said, use code DRAFT, DRAFT, 10% off. Link is in the bio. Let's see some more questions here.
By the way,
go ahead.
By the way, I do want to bring up Collie. I did get my wish. We did not go edge in this draft. Thank God. This was a bad edge draft. The first one didn't even go till 15. I think Kwity Paye was the first one.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude, I'm happy. Again, it was one of those things where you didn't really need it. We had enough depth at that point. Like, you're not going to get a superstar. Yeah. And it kind of makes me a little somewhat optimistic that D Ford maybe could come back and make a contribution. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And they added Mo Hurst, Arden Key, just, like rotation guys.
A lot of depth.
Yeah, a lot of depth. Lee Ving, do you think they could have traded back a second time for Banks?
I think you just trade back once, because if you're trading back multiple times, that kind of looks like you're not confident in the guy, right? They got good value out of it and they got extra pick out of it. I'm not really fussed. I think they dropped 7 spots. I think 6 spots, 43 to 49. I think is where they picked him. 49.
I think so, yeah.
But I'm not that fussed about it. He looks like a beast, and if he is a beast, nobody's going to care that they only traded back once. They wouldn't have got much more out of it anyway.
No. Yeah, I agree. Let's see. 49er Media. Were you surprised we didn't draft a center to back up? I'm sorry. I think you actually. Yeah, that was the first one. Kai Young 480. Do you think they'll use Hufanga more as a linebacker rather than safety? I saw that that was kind of in conversation that he's kind of that hybrid fit. I think they're pretty set with their linebackers, though. I think they actually need more help at safety, so I would keep him as a box safety.
He might be a big nickel, like a big nickel guy that you run out there, so that can kind of drop down and play. But no, they need depth at the safety position, so they're probably going to keep him there.
Yeah. Just not a question, but Collie Sermon is our version of Leonard Fournette. Yeah, Bruiser back.
Yeah.
Which running backs do you see?
The 7th overall pick to get.
Yeah, that's crazy still. Which running backs do you see making the roster? I have Mostert, Sermon, Gallman, and Wilson. Hasty and Mitchell, I think, will be on the practice squad.
Pretty spot on.
Yeah.
If Mitchell can transition to wide receiver so that they can put him on special teams, That'd be the ideal.
Yeah. Let's see. Some talk about Mitchell not needing to change spots. When does Jimmy get traded or benched? Did you see Lombardi's dumb tweet?
There's so many. I have to scrub through his entire feed.
I assume it's
far more specific than that, dude.
About him getting like you talked about it earlier.
The stupid wide receiver, and he's not doing that.
Yeah. I can't remember his name right now.
David Lombardi.
No, the New Orleans player.
Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill.
Yeah. Peter Schrager said that as like an offhand thing on the draft coverage day 3. I watched it live, and then David Lombardi just kind of ran with that, and it's just like that. Really, like you took? Come on, man.
Yeah.
Like come on, dude. But I think that we could follow the trend of. So if Jimmy plays well, right, and they think Trey Lance is ready, they could trade him before the deadline. But what I think is more likely is that Jimmy gets hurt again, doesn't make it out of October, Trey Lance plays, and then they just cut him at the end of the year to get his cap number off the books.
Yeah. I think Jimmy's, at least up until now, his highest value was before Thursday night. Once Thursday night came, Patriots got their guy in Mac, Chicago got their guy in Justin.
I mean, unless he plays well in week 1 and week 2, and then somebody else, Yeah. Because I mean, if you look around the league, Washington football team doesn't have much in the cupboard at quarterback, right?
True. That's a good point. Yeah.
Maybe if Green Bay does decide to trade Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Rodgers goes somewhere like Denver, right? You can pawn Jimmy G off onto the Green Bay Packers for a little while they attempt to get Jordan Love up to speed.
Yeah.
Who knows? There's options there. It's just you're just gonna have to see how it plays out. But I mean, the options are more limited than they were on Thursday because it's like, well, New England's out because they got
McCorkle.
Yeah, they got Mac Jones. So Zach Willie, I'll sleep on Taylor Heineke all day. All day.
That's funny. I do think though that Kyle Shanahan recently said they're comfortable keeping Jimmy's contract on the books as they go through the season.
Yeah.
Take it, for what it's worth. It's set in May, but it's something to consider. But I wouldn't be shocked at all if he's moved, once training camp hits, if there's a roster, somebody panic trades maybe, or excuse me, if there's an injury, not a roster. If there's an injury, somebody may trade for him if that need appears. But Kyle Shanahan did say as well, if a competition were to occur, he'd not only, welcome that. Yeah, he'd be more than happy. And I do think Trey Lance will win that competition pretty quickly.
Yeah, I just don't know if Lance is going to be ready to go at that time.
Like mentally or
just from
overall?
Just from like a speed of the game aspect of it, right? Like you don't want to put him out there before he's accustomed to what's going on, right? Because not only, I mean, it's bad enough if you're coming from like a Power 5 school, the speed of the game is still like a huge jump. But if you're coming from an FCS school and you haven't played in a year, right. It's a lot. It's a lot. And you're trying to digest the playbook, right? Unless he is the biggest devourer of Kyle Shanahan's system there's ever been, he's not necessarily going to be ready right away. And you don't want to just trot him out there with limited concepts just to get him out there. Just wait till he's ready. There's no rush. That's the thing. You've reset the clock on this team right now with him. And if he doesn't play for an entire year, he doesn't play. Patrick Mahomes didn't play his first year until week 17. And then he was ready to go the next year. That's my ideal scenario for Trey Lance, is that we see him in the preseason and maybe the last game of the season. Yeah. And that's it. Because that means that the 49ers are good. They're going to make the playoffs. Jimmy G was healthy. They have a shot to get something done. And then Trey Lance will not have been thrown out to the wolves in a difficult situation. They'll have been able to bring him along when he's ready and put him out there at the right time.
Yeah. Does it concern you at all that if that is the scenario which you just outlined, he's 2 years removed from playing any football?
That if he does play?
No. Like if he doesn't play, he plays the first and last game or preseason and the last game, like you said.
Well, but there's a difference though, because they didn't have a season, so they weren't practicing. They weren't doing anything. He was left on his own. He's going to be out there. He's going to be learning. He's going to be, he's going to be watching film along with the rest of the quarterback room and along with the quarterback coaches and Kyle. He's going to be studying the playbook. He's going to be learning the playbook. He's probably going to be taking some reps in practice. Like he's not just going to sit there, right? And just, and just not do anything. Even at worst, like maybe he's running scout team or whatever. And then because you're in practice and maybe you're running scout team or whatever, and you're getting some reps, you're starting to get used to, okay, what's college open versus what's NFL open? Okay, I need to throw with anticipation out of the break and trust that the guy's going to be there, because I can't wait until I see somebody open, because it's the NFL. So it's just going to take time, but I think that you have to give him that room, give him that time to grow into it. I think it would be a mistake to just toss him out there. And I think it'd be a mistake for fans to put the pressure on him or have the expectation of him that he's going to be ready to go right off the bat.
Okay. Yeah. Great answer. I do think, yeah, with something as serious as a guy you want to be a franchise quarterback for the next decade, you do not want to rush that. Give him as much time, let him build his confidence, and just, give him as much time as he needs. Like they said, they have Jimmy. They're more than comfortable with keeping him this year at the very least. Why not, why rush things if you don't have to? Also leaving, yeah, it comes in shirt. It also comes in women's sizes as well. Hoodies, zip sweaters. We actually have it now in leggings, joggers, even in a tumbler, a mug. It's on a bunch of different things. So click the link in the bio. You'll see it all. Let's see. Ryan Johnson, if Mac gets hurt and the Pats want Jimmy, should we ask for Gilmore in a trade?
That'll never happen.
Mac
I don't
Jones.
think Mac Jones is going to play right away either. That Belichick's going to wait and coach him up too. And just, if anybody's going to be out there taking a beating, it's going to be Cam Newton.
Rush. Yeah, it's true. Kai Young, 480. Didn't the roster go up to 55 to 56 players instead of 53 with the 17th game added? That's a good question.
I know that the game day roster went from 46 to 48 that you could have active.
Okay.
But I don't know about overall roster size.
Yeah. Anthony Kravis, no one's taking Jimmy's contract.
It's beautiful thing about Jimmy's contract is he's in his last 2 years, so if you want to, you can restructure and extend.
Yeah. Antonio Rosales, 49ers are playing the Lions this season. Can Nick Bosa win against Sewell?
All day.
Yeah.
All day. All day. Trent Williams in training camp last year said that Nick Bosa was like they were going back and forth. And Trent Williams is like one of the best in the business.
Yep.
So Bosa's a beast, and Sewell might be a bully, but Bosa is not only a bully, but he's on point with his technique. Both Bosas are. So if you gave me outstanding left tackle versus top end edge rusher, I'm taking the top edge rusher all day.
Yeah. Leaving. If Jimmy is traded in the season, the Niners pick up some of his 2020 salary. Is he off the books totally in 2022?
Yeah, and even if they kept him all year and they cut him next year, I think his dead money is like $1 million.
Yeah, not much. 49er Empire. This is my first time on the channel. I'm a subscribe. Go Niners Quest for 6.
Welcome.
Trey Lance is our future. Surround him with protection on the line and a slot receiver playoff bound. Thanks for subscribing. We really appreciate it. If you guys are here and you haven't subscribe. Help us get to 2,000 subscribers. Also like this video and comment. It really helps in the algorithm. It may not seem like much, but it really does help. So we appreciate it. Cardinals have the best wide receiver class in the NFC West. Going to be tough facing them when they got Rondale Moore. They have a solid group. We're going to take a couple more here, then wrap things up. Let's see. Did the Cardinals improve? We can go some 49ers questions. Shanahan said he wouldn't roll out coming back to the Niners. He said that he was going to wait until after draft to make a decision to sign. Oh, Sherman. I'm sorry, not Shanahan. Would you want Sherman back?
Well, let me address it. Hold on. I'm going to address the Cardinals thing real quick.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Listen, I don't care about what the Cardinals have because I still think the 49ers are better. Like, if you think your team is better, who cares what the other people are doing? You can't worry about, oh, they got this guy, oh, they got that guy. You go, oh, we got these guys, and we're going to implement our game plan. So the Cardinals always play the 49ers tough, but, I expect the 49ers to be able to pull that out, especially if they're healthy and ready to go.
Yeah.
So back to the Sherman thing, though. Like, he's a great locker room guy. That's what I'll say about him at this point. But like as a player, I think he's kind of washed unless he's going to make a transition to safety.
Yeah.
As a cover corner, I think he's washed. And that's through no fault of his own. I just think you reach a certain age, and he had limited athletic ability to begin with, and now injuries are kind of starting to stack up on him, and it's like, well, okay, And as we saw with Darrell Revis and others, it life comes at you quick towards the end, and you fall off a cliff. So I think it's very telling that he didn't get a deal that he wanted out on the free agent market and tried to play it off as like, I'm going to wait until after the draft.
Yeah.
I think that there just was not a lot of interest, and I think he wanted to wait and see what the 49ers were going to do to see if he could kind of leverage back into the situation. So, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I believe he also said the Raiders, Saints, I think there was one other team were all interested. I wouldn't be opposed to bringing him back. It's not somebody that I think the 49ers are greatly missing. He was starting to sort of become a liability out there, but his like Matt said, his mentality, his knowledge of the game, his knowledge of the system could be really beneficial to some of these younger guys.
Yeah.
Let's see. There was one here. Yeah. Hung Fat. Where was it? Can't believe John Lynch, I'm pretty sure, actually tried to get Aaron Rodgers, huge cojones.
Yeah, well, I mean, why wouldn't you inquire if you hear, like he said, I was just reading the tea leaves, I made a call, and they were quick to be like, nope.
Yep.
I mean, that's part of it. We always talk about, hey, anytime a name comes up, the fan base is like, why didn't they call? Well, I'm sure Lynch calls on everybody, and then he oftentimes gets the nope, or they give the price, and he's like, nope. So,
yep.
We'll see.
Matt, my guy in the Niner hat keeps it 100.
I always do. I'm not always right, but I always say it how I feel like it is.
Yep.
And I'm always open to being wrong too. Nobody's 100% correct.
Yeah. No. Bay Area Baller 18. Exciting draft. First 3 picks were some powerful guys. Mm-hmm. Hufanga is going to look like a heck of a 5th-round pick.
I love that damn name, dude. Hufanga. That's such a cool name, man.
Yeah. I think he's going to ball out. I really do.
Yeah.
They need a veteran wide receiver, trade for one. I don't think they necessarily do.
Trade for one. Just wait.
Yeah.
When they go through the process of cutting down the rosters, there's going to be a veteran wide receiver that hits the market that maybe you're not expecting, that maybe can come in and contribute. You're not looking for a 1 or a 2. You're looking for a 3 and a 3rd wide receiver that, they're a dime a dozen. You can go find a guy who can contribute.
Yep. I agree.
If you have Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, the stable of running backs they have, and George Kittle, and you're leaning on your wide receiver 3, you got a lot of problems.
That's true. Yeah. Yep. Anthony Kravis, did the Niners want Dalton? Would you rather have Dalton or Jimmy G?
I don't care who, because they're both going to be backups here, because Trey Lance is the future.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if they actually wanted Dalton. Maybe they inquired about him like they did to 10 other quarterbacks this offseason. I think we'll take one more. Anthony Kravis, is Jimmy an upgrade over Winston?
I would say so. Just
you
because,
think?
Winston has way more physical tools, but you know what? I don't know. Maybe I want to see I'm very intrigued to see what Winston does this year, because Winston's going to win that job over Taysom Hill. There's no way to go into the. Well, he had the LASIK, and he had a year under one of the most professional quarterbacks. And with Jameis Winston, it's always been the poor decision making and the real weird, the kind of weird way he carried himself. Everybody remembers that, like that W speech, right? Where he was like licking his fingers. Yep. That weird thing where it's just like, just the personality was a little off-putting, right?
Yeah.
We hope that after a year with Drew Brees, and as you get a little bit older, you start to learn how to carry yourself as a professional. So if he can do all that, he has tons of physical tools. He's got a big arm. He's got the ability. He's got escapability. He's got size. If the LASIK takes and he can actually see better, and not only see better, but have better depth perception, which comes with, getting your vision corrected, and he's matured a little bit. He could actually be a really good quarterback for the Saints. MVP level, no, but more than serviceable as a starter. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I would take Winston. Granted, like you said, LASIK, he threw, what was it, like 20, 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions.
30 interceptions. But here's the thing. Why did we trade for Trey Lance with Jimmy Garoppolo? Because that's the answer here too.
Yep.
Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt all the time. Jameis Winston doesn't get hurt.
No. He doesn't.
So if you can clean up the other stuff with Jameis Winston just for the sake of being healthy and having more physical tools, like I'd take Jameis Winston.
Yeah. I just think physically, he's, there's a reason why he was second? Was he the second overall pick? First overall pick. That's right. Yeah. So the talent's there. It's just a matter of putting it all together. But hypothetically speaking, we got a super chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Random Electronic 2.0.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Make sure all you guys are hitting that subscribe button. We have some jerseys to give away right now. I shouldn't say right now, but we are going to give away to our draft. We had a mock draft entry. Anybody who got the most first-round picks correct, they won an autographed jersey. So we tallied up all the scores last night. Thank you to everybody who submitted their first-round mocks. We had a bunch to go through. I still have to go through. We did one internally for the guys. I haven't even told you guys who won that yet because I haven't even gone through them. But dude, once we conclude,
count. Math is hard, huh?
There were so many last night. Stuart and I were going through like
how many in the group?
Oh no, we didn't go through ours. We went through all of the ones from.
No, I mean, how many in our group though?
At least
5,
6, 7, maybe.
Okay.
So it shouldn't. I should be able to get it done this evening.
Hurry up and announce me the winner, bro.
We'll see. But that's going to do it for tonight's show. Thank you, everybody, so much. Great show. Great guests, I should say. Great comments, great questions. We really do appreciate everybody tuning in.
Yep.
And hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers so we can give away another 49ers jersey. So make sure you're subscribed.
Absolutely. And we're going to come at you live later this week. We're in a little bit of a down period right now just because of the off season. Once we get back to, preseason training camp fully kicks up, we're going to be bringing you Niners news every day of the week, along with live shows. And then we're going to be kicking into it real hard for the season. So again, as Zach said, like, subscribe, and go ahead and click the bell for notifications. We love having you here. And as always, go Niners.